Tonight you'll flip a switch. Light fills the room. You won't think twice. For almost all of human history, that switch didn't exist. The sun dropped. Darkness took over. You couldn't see your own fingers. For 300,000 years, your ancestors lived in that darkness. Half their lives, swallowed by it. Most of it without even fire. Just sky, stars, predators that saw better than you did. So how did they fill those hours? The answer rewrites what we assume about sleep, about storytelling, about being human. And it traces back to one discovery, the thing that made the dark livable: fire. Everything that follows depends on it. Some of the earliest disputed evidence: Wonderwerk Cave, South Africa, roughly 1 million years old. Fire wasn't just warmth. Fire rewired the human day. Before it, our ancestors moved like any other primate. Light faded. You found shelter. You froze in place. Movement after dark meant becoming someone's meal. Human night vision is weak. Leopards, hyenas, wolves, theirs isn't. Fire flipped that danger overnight. A single fire carves out a safe zone, 30 feet across. Step inside it. Predators keep their distance. Step outside it. The odds turn against you fast. Researchers studying hunter-gatherers today have tracked this. People who stray from the fire face something real, a measurable spike in predator attacks. Even now. But fire didn't only protect. It gave humanity something new, more hours to be alive in. Without fire, the day stopped at sunset. 12 hours in summer. 8 in winter. Fire stretched that. 2 to 4 more hours, night after night, generation after generation, and those borrowed hours reshaped us. In 2014, anthropologist Wiessner published a study in PNAS Years of Recorded Conversation among the Jew/Hwansi of the Kalahari. Her results were unexpected. Daytime talk was almost entirely functional. Where to hunt, what's ripe, who owes who, nearly 80% logistics. But once the fire was lit, the tone flipped completely. At night, over 80% of talk turned into narrative. Stories of far-off places, origin myths, jokes sharp enough to crack up the whole camp. Wiessner's conclusion: the fire circle is where human culture began. Our first stage, our first classroom, our first sacred space. It's where humans first practiced imagining what wasn't yet real. Arguably, it's where we became who we are. But fire wasn't the only thing stirring after dark. Something inside the body was waking up too. Your body was never built for this, not the sleep pattern you follow now. In 2001, historian Roger Ekirch released findings that overturned sleep science. 16 years of archival digging, religious texts, court records, diaries, medical writings, even lines buried in Homer. Over 500 mentions, all describing the same thing: a first sleep, then a second. Before industrial lighting, people didn't sleep straight through. They'd retire not long after dusk, sleep roughly 4 hours, then wake, deep in the night for an hour or two. They stayed conscious, then drifted off again until morning. This wasn't a disorder. This was simply how humans slept for thousands of years. And what filled that waking gap? Nearly everything. One French physician had advice for couples. Conceive during that window, he said. He claimed it worked better. People checked in on neighbors, turned dreams over while they were still fresh, or just lay still in the dark thinking. A medical guide from the 1500s called it the watch, the ideal hour for reflection, when the mind settled and the world went quiet. For centuries, historians mistranslated these accounts. They couldn't picture sleep this different from their own. Then, in 1992, a lab experiment changed things. It confirmed what the old records had said all along. Psychiatrist Thomas Wehr worked at the National Institute of Mental Health. He designed a study to test it. He cut volunteers off from artificial light entirely. 1 month, 14 hours of darkness every night. Within weeks, most volunteers slid into the same rhythm. 4 hours asleep, 1 to 3 hours quietly awake. Then 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody instructed them. Nobody hinted at it. It surfaced on its own, as if a pattern had been dormant the whole time, buried under generations of electric light. Wehr tracked their hormones during that awake stretch. Prolactin spiked, the same hormone tied to meditation and to post-orgasmic calm. Participants described it as tranquil, contemplative, almost trance-like, not simply broken sleep, a separate state of mind entirely, one most people today have never felt. So if this was wired in that deep, what could override it? Light did. Street lamps appeared in cities in the 1600s, Paris first under Louis XIV, to cut down on crime. London followed, then affordable candles, then gaslighting in the 1800s. Then, 1879, Edison brings the electric bulb to market. In one generation, 300 millennia of darkness were erased. Here's a detail most people miss. Curfew comes from the French couvre-feu. Cover the fire. A bell would sound at night. Everyone smothered their flames, not for protection, because darkness was meant to stay dark. In many medieval towns, this was the law. Walking outside after dark without a lantern? Forbidden. Night belonged to criminals, to superstition, to fear we can barely imagine now. And then we beat it, drowned it in artificial light, called it advancement. But that advancement came at a cost, one we're still paying. The average person gets artificial light for hours after sunset, 7 to 8 hours, most nights. Screens are the worst offenders. Blue light blocks melatonin, the hormone that governs sleep. Your body can't tell a bulb from the sun. Light hits your eyes at 11 p.m. Your brain reads it as daytime. Melatonin delays, sleep splinters. People who camp for just a week see something strange, zero artificial light, and their melatonin shifts back, nearly 2 hours, toward sunset, right where it evolved to be. That's how fast the old programming reasserts itself. We haven't just shifted our sleep schedule. We've deleted an entire layer of human consciousness. That calm state between first and second sleep, the one Wehr's subjects called almost meditative. It's vanished for most people now. We gave it a new name instead, insomnia, and we treat it as something broken. But what if it never was? What if waking at 2 a.m. isn't malfunction at all, lying there in the dark, just your body reaching for something it was built to do? For 300,000 years, your ancestors lived inside a rhythm. One science is only now starting to map. They sat around fires and spun the stories that seeded civilization. They slept in 2 stages, with a still, quiet gap in between. They lived beneath skies so dark. The Milky Way was simply overhead, not something you had to drive out of the city to find. And in that nightly gap, they lay in the dark, turning over their lives, their dreams, the day still waiting at dawn. We gave all of that up for a light switch. Most of us never even noticed it was gone.